So, okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from the Center for Chronic Disease Control and the Health and Environment Leadership Platform. Today, we have gathered here to undergo a training on air pollution and health effects. I am joined by my colleague, Ms. Sunila Dikshit, who will take you through the presentation on air pollution and health effects, and by Ms. Vinci Tribhuvan, who is Group Nursing Head at Sahyadri Hospital, Pune. She has over 25 plus years of experience in the healthcare industry, and she is also the chapter president for ANI for Maharashtra. Uh, so, our team lead, Dr. Purnima Prabhakaran, was also supposed to join this program, but unfortunately, she is traveling to UK and won't be able to join. So at the start, I would like to invite Ms. Vinci Tribhuvan to briefly address uh, uh, the participants today, and then we will jump into the presentations. Over to you, Ms. Vinci.
Hello, everyone. A warm, very good afternoon. And I appreciate the number of nurses who have joined here. So, as Dr. Masroor explained, I'm Vinci Tribhuvan, Group Head of Nursing for Sahyadri Group of Hospitals, Pune. I'm also Association of Nurse Executives of India's Maharashtra Chapter President, and I'm also the representative of ANI to lead the climate impact initiatives in collaboration with Healthcare Without Harm. That is the Indian representative of global green and healthy hospitals. So healthcare contributes approximately 5% of greenhouse gas emissions across the world. And hospitals and pharmaceutical companies are the largest contributors. As healthcare providers, we witness the impact of the harmful effects that climate change can have on our population, from various disease conditions to natural calamities like floods, storms, tsunamis, causing displacement, deaths, and threat to our very, very vital elements for survival like food and water. Climate change has been termed as a complex public health issue, affecting all areas of nursing practice, and nurses play a very vital, important role in prevention of environmental related risks and illnesses. Association of Nurse Executive of India is a staunch believer in the role of nurse in influencing decisions made within healthcare organizations and advocate for changes that will help protect the environment. Hence, as one of our initial steps, we have taken up the cause of training and motivating the nurses in a variety of environmentally sound practices in their personal and professional lives. So this is just a starting. So my dear nurses, once again, welcome to you. And thank you so much to Dr. Masroor, Healthcare Without Harm, Dr. Sunila, and all your team members. And I hope all the people who are logged in here take some very vital take-home messages and try to practice it, at least at the basic and minimal level, at our personal lives. And if at all, if we are able to influence our hospital policymakers, we would be very happy to have you. So thank you so much for having me here. Once again, welcome. Now, just let us start the webinar and have a good, very rich learning experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. So a couple of housekeeping rules before we actually start. We will go through the presentation by Ms. Sunila Dikshit, and at the end of the presentation, we will take question and answer. All the participants who have any question regarding the presentation can raise their hands. We will allow them to speak, and they can talk to the presenter directly, or they can also type in their question in the Q&A box, and that will be answered. So without any further ado, now I would like to invite Ms. Sunila Dikshit to talk about air pollution and health effects. Over to you, Sunila.
Thanks, Masroor. And thank you, Ms. Vinci, as well. Hi, everyone. I'm Sunila. I work as a research fellow at the Center for Chronic Disease Control. Some of you might have seen me when I presented on the first topic of the series on climate change and human health. And today we will be talking about air pollution and how it affects the health of population. So let me just share the screen. It's visible, right? Okay. So let's just dive into it. Air pollution is one of the biggest threats to our generation in the 21st century. And there are basically two types of air pollution, outdoor and indoor. So let's begin with what outdoor air pollution is. It is the contamination of outdoor air by a range of toxic chemicals and compounds, gases, and solids that modify its natural characteristics. Most often, it is caused by human activities such as mining, construction, transportation, etc. And some of the common air pollutants that are present in the air are carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, particulate matter, sulfur oxides, and volatile organic compounds. Volatile organic compounds are those chemicals which are normally used in the manufacture of paints, refrigerants, and pharmaceuticals. If you remember from what we learned in the first session of climate change and human health, I mentioned greenhouse gases and how those contribute to global warming and climate change. So greenhouse gases basically are those gases which help in trapping the heat in the atmosphere of Earth, and that's how it keeps the Earth warm. So some of the common air pollutants that I mentioned here, such as carbon dioxide, sulfur oxide, and nitrogen oxide, these are actually greenhouse gases. So this is how air pollution contributes to climate change as well. In the common air pollutants, I mentioned particulate matter. What exactly is particulate matter? It is a mixture of solid or liquid particles suspended in the air. PM10, that is particulate matter 10, primarily comprises dust, while PM 2.5 is the byproduct of combustion, either through natural sources such as forest fires or volcanic eruptions, or man-made causes, examples of which are vehicles emission, industrial emission, and biomass burning. So the numbers that you see here, 10 and 2.5, these indicate the size of particulate matter. If you look at the image here, you will see there is a comparative display of the size of the particles, just for you to understand how small these particles exactly are. So if you look at the beach sand particles, these are 90 microns in diameter, and compared to that, the strand of human hair is like 50 to 70 microns. If you look at PM10, it measures less than 10 microns, and the PM 2.5 is even much smaller than that. So it measures equal to or less than 2.5 microns. So PM 2.5 is actually like 30 times smaller than human hair. PM10 is still sometimes visible to naked eye because it comprises of dust and all, which we can see with our eyes. But PM 2.5 is very hard to notice, and that's why it's difficult to avoid as well. The causes of air pollution are twofold. First is natural, obviously, which includes volcanic activities and wildfires. And these two causes, volcanic activities and wildfires, they contribute to emission of carbon particles in the air. And then there's microbial decaying process, which releases methane, and winds and air currents. So basically, winds and air currents, they help in transferring dust, particles, pollens, and other pollutants from one place to another. And man-made causes, these are several man-made causes. First is waste incineration, which is the burning of waste, which leads to the release of carbon dioxide and other poisonous gases, depending on what the waste contains. And then there's construction and demolition activities, which can generate a lot of dust and other minute particles that are composed of harmful toxic substances. Then there's land use change. Land use change basically refers to when the natural course of land is changed by a human activity. So if there's a naturally occurring grassland and a person uses it for farming purpose, then the uh, main intent of land is changed. That is what refers to land use change. And then there are other activities like industrial processes, transportation, mining, and smelting, which will obviously lead to emissions of gases like carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, and so on. So who are most at the risk of air pollution? First, obviously, infants and children, because they are still growing, their immunity system is still developing. We will come back to how air pollution affects infants and children in detail in later slides. Third group is pregnant women. Not many people are aware, but pregnant women are the most vulnerable to the risks of air pollution. This can manifest in the form of premature birth or low birth weight, and exposure to air pollution has also been found to be correlated with pregnancy complications. Fourth group is elderly. As people age, their ability to compensate for environmental hazards also reduces. That's why elderly are more at the risk of health impacts of air pollution. Fifth is people working in polluted environment. This is kind of self-explanatory. People working in polluted environments. This can include factories or waste management companies and so on. So people working here are exposed to pollutants on a daily basis, and so there's a high chance they are at the risk of the health impacts working there. And last group is people with existing heart and lung diseases. Basically, people who already have diseases can get worsened. Their health can get worsened when they are exposed to air pollution. So when we are talking about air pollution, we must talk about air quality index. What exactly is air quality index? It is a number used to report the quality of air on any given day. It tells you how polluted or clean the air is. So this is air quality index set up by the Central Pollution Control Board of India. Normally, all countries across the world will have their standard set up for air quality index. So this ranges from 0 to 500. If you look at the first parameter, which ranges from 0 to 50, that indicates the quality of air is good, and which means it will have minimal impact on our health, and it is safe to inhale that air. As you go ahead, as the numbers increases, it means the quality of air gets worsened further and further. If you look at the last range, which is 401 to 500, it means the quality of air is severely bad, and that it can affect even healthy people and can have serious impacts on those with existing diseases. Now, outdoor air pollution can have a number of impacts on our health. And the first and foremost area for the risk is obviously our respiratory system. So what are the impacts of outdoor air pollution on our respiratory health? These include difficulty in breathing, coughing, asthma, throat infections, and major complications such as chronic bronchitis. Chronic bronchitis is the inflammation of bronchial tubes that supply air to and from the lungs. Then the increased susceptibility to respiratory infections. So the more we are exposed to air pollution, the more it increases the risk of us falling sick due to respiratory infections. Then increased risk of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It is the inflammation of lungs which causes obstruction of airflow, and lung cancer, because air pollution exposes us to particles that are carcinogenic in nature and can result in lung cancer. Not many people are aware, but outdoor air pollution can have serious impacts on cardiovascular health as well. Inhaling air pollutants, especially PM 2.5, can damage the inside of blood vessels, causing them to become narrower and harder. This can lead to a number of cardiovascular problems such as high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke, arrhythmia, and heart failure. So basically, once particles start to deposit on the inside of our blood vessels, it increases pressure on the blood vessel to pump more blood to heart. And this is what leads to all the cardiovascular problems. And as I mentioned before, children are the most vulnerable group to air pollution. Why is that? Because children are vulnerable during fetal development and in their earliest years, while their lungs, brains, and other organs are still developing. They breathe faster than adults, taking in more air and with it more pollutants as well. And also the fact that children are more likely to play outdoors, which exposes them to polluted air. So this makes children as one of the most vulnerable groups to air pollution. The potential impacts of air pollution on children's health include low birth weight, asthma, reduced cognitive function. Cognitive function is the critical reasoning and thinking ability. Childhood cancers, acute lower respiratory infections, childhood obesity, and infant mortality. So this is a small video by National Geographic. It basically tells you how air pollution is related to climate change and what are its outcomes. It is also like a short revision of what we have learned until so far. So I'll just play the video for you.
Air pollution consists of chemicals.
Masru, is the video, I mean, are you able to hear?
Yes, it's audible as well as visible.
Okay.
Put it in the full screen mode.
Sorry?
Can you put it in the full screen mode?
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Atmosphere that pose serious health and environmental threats. But what causes air pollution, and what does it mean for our planet? Some air pollution comes from natural sources like volcanic eruptions, wildfires, or allergens. But most air pollution results from human activities, such as energy use and agriculture. There are different types of human-made air pollution. When we burn fossil fuels to produce energy, they release greenhouse gases into the air. These emissions, such as carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and fluorinated gases, trap heat from the sun in Earth's atmosphere, leading to a rise in global temperatures. This creates a cycle where air pollution contributes to climate change, and climate change creates higher temperatures. In turn, higher temperatures intensify some types of air pollution. For example, climate change increases smog because it forms in the presence of high heat and increased levels of ultraviolet radiation. More frequent extreme weather, such as flooding, contributes to damp conditions and therefore to a rise in mold. Warmer weather also leads to longer pollen seasons and therefore more pollen production. Smog is a type of air pollution that reduces visibility and has serious health effects. Smog can be divided into two categories: sulfurous and photochemical. Sulfurous smog is made up of chemical compounds called sulfur oxides. It occurs when burning sulfur-bearing fossil fuels such as coal. Photochemical smog, also called ground-level ozone, is a result of the reaction between sunlight, nitrogen oxides, and volatile organic compounds. Nitrogen oxides come from car exhaust, coal power plants, and factory emissions. Volatile organic compounds are released from gasoline, paints, and many cleaning solvents. Smog not only creates a brown haze that reduces visibility, but also harms plants, irritates the eyes, and causes respiratory distress. Another category of air pollution is toxic pollutants. These are chemicals such as mercury, lead, dioxins, and benzene that are released during gas or coal combustion, waste incineration, or burning of gasoline. In addition to adverse environmental effects, toxic air pollution can cause serious health problems such as cancer, reproductive complications, and birth defects. While air pollution has many consequences for our planet, there are solutions. We can limit toxic pollutants, smog, and greenhouse gases by decreasing the use of fossil fuels, such as in transportation, manufacturing, and electricity generation. Reducing air pollution not only contributes to a cleaner environment and better human health, but can also slow the rate of global warming.
So, yeah, so that was a good summary of what we have learned until now, and I hope you found the video informative as well. Let's move on to the next slide then. Yeah, so let's talk about how we can protect ourselves from outdoor air pollution. Firstly, time your outdoor activities according to your local air quality index. We have learned what air quality index is, and you might be wondering how do we check our local air quality. So there are a few sources that you can look up. First is the Central Pollution Control Board website, which I will wait. I'll show it to you. So this is the Central Pollution Control Board website, and if you go under air, water, noise data, you will see a tab called air quality data, and there they have this daily AQI bulletin. If you click on that, you will see that they will have published the air quality data of the cities that have air quality monitoring stations set up. So for example, you can see all of these cities and the air quality and what are the prominent pollutants present in the air of that city. Another option is aqi.in, which allows you to put in the name of the city that you're living in, and then it displays the information accordingly. So these are the few of the sources that you can look up if you want to check your air quality. Next thing to do is to avoid outdoor activity as much as possible if the AQI is poor or unhealthy, and to make sure that you use good quality masks while stepping out. People with heart and respiratory ailments must keep prescribed medicines handy, and you should also make sure that you are hydrated properly. Standard occupational health and safety guidelines must be strictly implemented and followed in hazardous environments. So this includes the use of protective gear such as helmet, goggles, masks, and designated uniforms as well. Now we spoke about outdoor air pollution. Let's talk about indoor air pollution as well. It is the contamination of indoor air by a range of gases and solid particles caused, sorry. solid particles arising from tobacco smoke, and using solid fuels for cooking. It can be up to 10 times worse than outdoor air pollution because contained areas enable potential pollutants to build up more than open space. And also it puts us in close proximity of those pollutants because we are in an enclosed space. What are the impacts of indoor air pollution on health? There is a range of impact of indoor air pollution on health, which there is premature deaths resulting from pneumonia, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, lung cancer, poor perinatal outcomes such as low birth weight and stillbirth, cancers of lungs, mouth, larynx, and nasopharynx, and conditions such as chronic bronchitis, asthma, wheezing, and allergies. So indoor air pollution is equally or probably more harmful than outdoor air pollution. And looking at the range of impacts that it can have on our health, it is very necessary that we keep our homes clear of air pollution. So how can we do that? Firstly, keep your home a smoke-free zone. Use clean fuels for cooking as much as possible, and vacuum dust and wash bed sheets and do laundry often on a regular basis. If the outdoor air quality is poor, shut doors and windows to prevent the pollutants from coming in your houses. And obviously keep your prescribed medicines handy. So this is a case study that I found from the UK, United Kingdom. So there was this patient with, so this case study actually reflects how training on air pollution, especially among the nursing community, can actually help with patient management. So there was this patient with asthma who had come in for the annual checkup, and his nurse found that the patient was using his inhaler more often than usual. And they both went through the patient's triggers but could not identify anything unusual. However, the nurse had trained herself on outdoor and indoor air pollution through the resources made available by the government of UK. She knew what are the sources of outdoor and indoor air pollution and how that can be prevented. So the nurse discussed air pollution and how to address it as a part of the patient's personalized asthma plan. She educated her patient about how air pollution is caused, what are the types of air pollution, and how that can worsen his asthma as well. She was aware of what air quality index is, and that's why she advised her patient to check for it while stepping out. She also asked for the road that he takes to work. When she realized that the road has heavy traffic, she advised him to take another route which has lesser traffic so that he's less exposed to the pollutants. She also asked to check for dampness or mold in the patient's house and made him aware about how cleaning sprays can be triggers too. So after going through all of this, they were able to come up with an effective asthma plan. And because the nurse had trained herself on air pollution, she was able to find an effective solution and was also able to sensitize her patient about how air pollution is actually worsening his asthma condition and how he can actually, what he can do to make it better. So ending the presentation, I want to talk about what nurses can do to address air pollution. Firstly, educate and inform yourselves about air pollution and how it impacts public health. And currently, this is what we are doing. So you're already on the pathway. Secondly, lead by example. Use public transport instead of private vehicles and use clean fuels for cooking. Sensitize your patients about air pollution, especially mothers, pregnant women, and the ones that are suffering from respiratory and cardiovascular diseases, because we learned that these groups are the most vulnerable to air pollution. And lastly, advocate for clean air and air pollution awareness. Engage with the higher authorities at hospital to advocate for trainings and on air pollution. As Ms. Vinci mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, that she hopes she will be able, the nursing community as a whole will be able to convince the higher authorities at hospital to actually do something about air pollution, to create awareness about it. So this brings me to the end of presentation. These are some of the resources that you can look up for in detail information about air pollution. And if you have any questions, we can answer that now.
Overview of air pollution and its wide-ranging health effects, and also what role nurses could play in terms of protecting themselves as well as the patients that they cater to. So if any of you have any question regarding the presentation or the topic, you could raise your hand. You can see a raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen. We will allow you to speak and ask your question, or you could also type it in the Q&A box. We will address those questions.
There are some hands raised.
Let me look at it. Yeah, so I can see Arushi Minhas. Yes, you can unmute yourself and speak. Ask your question. Arushi, could you hear us? Okay, we have another hand raised, Vanshika. Vanshika, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Or you can type in the chat box as well, the person.
Yeah. So I don't see any question in the chat box. Would again appeal to the participants. If you have any questions, you can write it in the Q&A box or the chat box, whichever way it is comfortable for you. Or you can also raise your hand. Okay. Ratna Mandal says she has a question.
Okay.
Can you type it? Ratna, could you type it?
Or maybe unmute her.
Yeah, just a second. Ratna, you can unmute yourself and talk.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am.
Ratna, there's an echo.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hi.
speak up.
Hello. Yes, ma'am, you have said that precaution and all. Nowadays, the air pollution is more, ma'am, and very, small kids also getting asthma, all lungs problem, cancer and all. So only the precaution, other than anything else, we can. Hello.
I mean, what exactly is your question? Like, apart from what I mentioned, what else can be done? Is it?
Yes, ma'am. We are doing a research everything on the air pollutions, and nowadays everywhere when we see on the road, the in bare eyes also we can see a very foggy everything, and only prevention is you have taught us. But other than anything like a government or any other things, we can prevent that this lungs disease and all nowadays more. So any other than that precautions to be taken?
I mean, what the precautions that I mentioned, these are to be done at an individual level, and what you nurses can do. But other than that, then solutions have to be implemented at the national and state government level, and this will need a lot of political will as well. But to mention how nurses can help, firstly, you have to be aware of how air pollution is caused and what are the health impacts of air pollution. And then you have to be aware of what are the policies that the government has implemented, so that you know if the policies are effective or not, and if anything additional needs to be done. So basically, you as a nursing community also have to raise voices, so that the government is able to hear your concerns and act accordingly on it. Masru, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. So you have very briefly told about all that nurses could do. One thing I would like to add is the advocacy aspect around air pollution. So in whichever capacity, in your individual capacity or in your professional capacity, whenever there's an opportunity to meet your lawmaker or your legislator in your area, you could talk to them about the wide-ranging health effects of air pollution, and why that those legislators should do something to reduce the levels of air pollution. For example, one step to reduce air pollution is to promote sustainable transport in terms of putting up designing the roads in a way where people can walk or cycle or do other stuff. Similarly, there are various options that you can take up with the legislator, and that's the advocacy aspect. Yeah,
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
you
Yeah,
were able to answer
very nice.
your question. There was another hand raised by Manisha. If you're there, you could unmute yourself and talk. So I guess she's not there. Uh,
Okay, I guess.
so Sunila, we are ahead of time, and before we end, I think we have a good number of participants today. Many of them are student nurses, and I believe some of them are also executive nurses working at various hospitals. I seem and I believe that this is a good opportunity to introduce the health and environment leadership platform also. Many of them must have looked at the logo and must be wondering what this platform is all about. So just give me some 5 to 10 minutes to briefly talk about how we ended up doing this training program and the work that we are doing with the healthcare industry in India. Uh, just a second, I'll project my screen. Just a second. Were you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Is it still visible?
No. No. Okay, now it is. Yeah. Now. Masur, you're on mute. You're still on mute.
There is some issue I seem, Sunila. When I'm sharing my screen, it's not allowing me to speak. Uh, yeah.
Maybe just without the presentation, you can probably explain.
Yeah. Can you run the presentation for me?
Just a second.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sunila. Yeah. Am I audible now? Okay. Sunila must not be able to speak. Okay. So at the Center for Chronic Disease Control, we have formed this platform called Health and Environment Leadership Platform in collaboration with Public Health Foundation of India and Healthcare Without Harm. So uh, and this platform is aimed at transforming the healthcare industry in India into an environmentally sustainable and a climate smart healthcare. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
I have moved to next slide.
Okay, thank you. So this platform is a membership and networking based platform, and healthcare facilities like hospitals, healthcare associations are member of this platform. And broadly, we cover three objectives, which are sort of showcasing leadership in reducing the environmental and the energy burden, and advocating for policy making which reduces the health effects of air pollution, and also building capacity of healthcare professionals like nurses and doctors on health effects of environmental pollution. As you could see, we have a membership base of more than 79 members, representing the interest of more than 7,700 plus hospitals in India. All prominent health associations in this country, you can see the logos placed on the left of the screen, are member of the platform, and also top nursing associations like ANI and other associations are a member of this platform. And that's how we sort of reached out to you to educate on air pollution and health effects. Next slide, please. So broadly, we are engaging with the healthcare industry on 4 different program areas. One is obviously the one today we did on air pollution and health effects, and other are climate change and health, sustainable procurement in the healthcare industry. We know that a lot of procurement is done in the healthcare industry on a daily basis, and that contributes to a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. So under this program area, we help healthcare industry understand what is sustainable procurement and what they could do in their capacity. We also help hospitals, healthcare facilities on efficiently managing their healthcare waste management. So many of you being nurses must also be a part of either the procurement committee or healthcare waste committee. Uh, with our help, you could contribute effectively on efficiently managing the healthcare waste of your hospital or contribute in sustainable procurement. And all these program areas, engagement is delivered with the help of similar webinars that we are doing today. We also do dedicated training series on different topics. We also release a bi-monthly newsletter which covers all details on recent happenings on environmental and health aspects. And through this platform, we sort of encourage the health sector leadership in India to take up sustainability as the priority. Uh, I think that was a brief overview of what this platform is all about. We will continue doing similar training programs going forward. First one, which only a few of you attended, was on climate change and health. This one was on air pollution and health effects, and subsequently we will do on other program areas. Thank you so much for joining today, and thank you so much, Sunila, for the wonderful presentation. Uh, if we don't have any question, we can end. Or Sunila, if you want to say any last word to our participants.
Thank you everyone so much for attending this presentation, and I hope I'll see all of you for the next training session that we arrange as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. If you have any query, you can write to us on, I'm typing it in the chat box. You can write to us on help.ceh@phfi.org. We will get back to you on email as well. Thank you so much for joining.